You guys ever ask your teacher or professor about the format of an upcoming exam? And when the teacher tells you it's multiple choice, you're usually going to see the class do a little celebration. For the most part, we think that multiple choice is among the easiest test formats out there, but why? I think it's because you can get away with not knowing a whole lot and still doing fairly well. MC questions give you that leeway, because in questions where you don't even know what 2 or even 3 of the options mean, maybe you have enough knowledge about that 4th option to know that that's the right one. That's winning. And of course, you can get answers right just through sheer luck. In an MC exam with the standard 4 options per question, you've got a lower limit of about 25% if you're just blindly guessing. If you do manage to get below that, well, I don't know what to say, maybe you're Miles Morales. But this intro is getting too long for my tastes. You're here for strategies. Process of elimination is one of the basic strategies when it comes to multiple choice questions, and it's really helpful because with each option you eliminate as a possible answer, the higher your chance of getting the question right. I already mentioned that there's this base chance of 25%, but when you eliminate one of the options as a possible answer, that rises to 33%. Eliminate another option, and now you're faced with a 50-50. And if you eliminate one more option, well, guess what? You're guaranteed to have gotten the question right. That's assuming your process of elimination was done properly. But I hope you see how this is a powerful tool. Most of you have probably used it before because it's a pretty common sense thing, I think. I have here a more advanced way to apply the process of elimination in more specific cases, and this might up your game when it comes to multiple choice exams. Let's consider a type of MC question that asks something like, which of the following statements is true? Or, oppositely, which of the following statements is false? These questions are pretty common, at least from my experience, and sometimes, if you're lucky enough, the person who designed the question might have slipped up and made the question much easier for you if you know what to look for. Those being contradicting answers. So I'm going to give you a nonsensical example of this, and the nonsensical aspect of it should prove to you why the contradicting answers can help you via process of elimination, even when you don't know anything about the content of the question. So here's that nonsensical example question. Which of the following is true about Hull? A. Hull is closely related to Hith. B. Hull is the Woosie. C. Hull can be detected via Yixter. And D. Hull is not the Woosie. Now you look at this question and you have no idea what's the right answer because all the terminology is gibberish. That's by design, because even without knowing anything, you can narrow the choices down through process of elimination because of the contradicting answers we see in B and D. Put simply, the answer must be B or D. This makes it a 50% chance rather than 25. Why is this? Well, let's do a little reverse engineering and go against what I've stated. Let's say, for instance, that you instead choose A as the correct answer. By choosing A, you are implying that all other options, B, C, and D, are false, which means you're saying that it is false that Hull is the Woosie, and you're saying it is also false that Hull is not the Woosie. But that could never be the case. It has to be one or the other, that Hull is the Woosie or Hull is not the Woosie. Both cannot be false at the same time. Both cannot be true at the same time either, and that's because the answers contradict. That's how you know the answer must be either B or D, and A and C are easily eliminated as possible answers. So as I've stated, you turn this question into a 50-50 rather than a 25% chance blind guess. That's some value. That's winning. If it was hard to grasp that logic because of the question's nonsensical gibberish, then here are some examples of some real questions with contradicting answers where the same logic applies. The contradicting answers are in bold. Notice that in some cases, it may not be immediately clear that the answers are contradicting. See that in this question, the options of most cells are microscopic and most cells can be seen with the naked eye are contradicting, but it's not as easy to tell that they're contradicting as something like 10 is divisible by 5 versus 10 is not divisible by 5. So sometimes you do need a little more knowledge about the content to apply this strategy. Another type of question that you can get a similar advantage on are ones where the option at the bottom is all of the above. These questions are perfect examples of not needing to understand all of the question's content to be able to get the right answer. In questions with all of the above, all you need to do is confirm that at least 2 of the options are true. You don't need to know everything about all 3, assuming it's that standard 4-option MC question. Why does this work? Because if you know 2 of the options are true and are unsure whether the 3rd option is true or not, well, just think, what else are you going to do except select all of the above? If you are unsure about that 3rd option, then yeah, you may not be really confident in choosing all of the above, but at the same time, if the first 2 options are true for certain, then you can't just choose one of them as the right option, because that's your alternative, right? So the fact that those first 2 are true is kind of enough to secure all of the above as the best choice. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. So as I was saying earlier, let's say you know for sure that both A and B are true, but you don't know much about C. Do you need to know whether C is true or not? No. If you're confident enough in A and B being true, then you can be sure that the answer is all of the above, because the alternative is to choose between selecting A or B, and you can't do that when you know both of them are true. So all of the above is the way you go. No need for perfect total knowledge. And this would be the case for any all of the above question, no matter which 2 options you know are true, and no matter how many options there are. Here, you don't even know much about 4 of the possible options, but because you know that both D and F are true for certain, you can confidently select all of the above. Likewise, if you know for sure that one of the options is false, then you can eliminate all of the above as a possible option. That's a 2-for-1 deal in process of elimination terms. So, another example to illustrate. If you know that philosophy is not an ethical theory, then you also know that all of the above cannot be the answer. This is a much simpler concept, admittedly. Most of you probably already know this, but I hope this is helpful if it so happened that you didn't. Quick side note, you might have thought that none of the above questions have similar strategies you can employ, and you might have been expecting me to talk about these questions, but there's actually not much you can do with those questions unlike their all of the above counterparts. I'm not going to go into the logistics of why, but if you put some thought into it, I'm pretty sure you discover why similar strategies cannot be applied here. So I'm just saying this as a friendly warning to stop you from potentially using all of the above strategies for none of the above questions, because you can't do that. Now I'd like to change course and talk about the dangers of absolutes. Absolutes referring to terms like always, never, none, all. I think exam creators try to be tricky by giving you these sorts of options, because when absolutes are present, a single exception will rule out the absolute as a possible option. And you have to be thinking closely about whether such an exception, or exceptions, might exist. Here's an example modified from earlier. Do you see that all in option B? That's an absolute. Meaning if you can think of a single example of a cell that is not microscopic, then you know instantly that B cannot be correct. And fun fact, there are cells that are not microscopic, that is, they can be seen with the naked eye. And they're pretty big, especially when you consider how small most cells are. This green sphere is a single cell. It can have a diameter of up to 5 centimeters, making it one of, or even the biggest single-celled organism in the world. I don't know, I thought that was cool. So some exam creators, as I said, can be tricky this way, because at first glance, B is a very tempting answer. Oh, of course cells are microscopic. That's an easy question. That might be your line of thinking if you're not thinking too carefully, so just be on your toes for this sort of thing. Last thing I want to discuss is probably the least useful, and I think it's a sign of a poorly designed MC question, but this is just the trend, I guess you'd call it, that the option that is longest, that has the most words, or seems most complex, is likely to be the right answer. So if that's confusing you, take an example here. What's the longest answer? D. The answer is D. It sticks out like a sore thumb, doesn't it? Again, this is a sign of a poorly designed MC question, and smarter exam designers will make sure the answer is not as obvious as this. In fact, even smarter and more cruel exam designers might use this sort of thing to bait you into selecting the wrong answer by purposely making one of the options very long and very complex, even when it's completely wrong. So, you know, your best bet is just to study hard and know your stuff, but all what I've mentioned are nice tools, if not crutches you can use to help you succeed in MC exams, quizzes, whatever. I hope this helps. I hope you didn't watch this video and say, I already knew all this. What a waste of time. If that's the case, I'm very sorry, but you can take pride in the fact that, wow, you're just the smartest person in the world, maybe. Congratulations.